Welcome to the Hypertherm Cutting Institute training video, Troubleshooting Powermax Torch Cap Faults, a 0-50 fault. This video will help you identify the symptoms of a torch cap 0-50 fault code for the Powermax product line. If this fault code has occurred, this tutorial will walk through some common troubleshooting tips to address the fault and get the system back to normal operation. The torch cap fault code is an indication that the consumable retaining cap safety circuit is open. Typical symptoms of this fault code include the torch not firing, along with machine-dependent fault displays, such as lights and error codes. To begin troubleshooting, first locate the physical copy of the operator manual that came with the system, or access a digital copy online at hypertherm.com. Use the Maintenance and Troubleshooting section of your manual to assist in your efforts. Using your manual, locate the torch cap fault or 0-50 fault code on the table. Powermax systems will display these error codes differently. For the Powermax 30 XP and the 30 Air, the torch cap LED illuminates when the machine is powered on, indicating that the cap sensing circuit is open. For the Powermax 45 XP, a solid torch cap LED on the front of the machine indicates a retaining cap fault. For higher amperage machines, such as the Powermax 65, 85, 105, or 125, the display screen will list 0-50, the fault light will be illuminated, and the cap off fault icon will appear on the status screen. To resolve the retaining cap off 0-50 fault code, begin by turning the power supply off. Remove and inspect the consumables to confirm that they were properly installed. Replace the consumables if you find damage or excessive wear. Install the consumables, being very careful not to over-tighten the retaining cap. Then turn the system power back on. If there is a torch lock switch, make sure it is in the green ready-to-fire position. This should clear the fault from the screen. If the torch cap fault still appears and the consumables were properly installed, then the torch lead, or power supply may be damaged. If you have a spare torch available, you can quickly rule out a damaged power supply by checking if the spare torch receives the same fault upon usage. If the spare torch works, the power supply is functioning properly, and your other torch is damaged. For those without a spare torch, to determine if the torch or power supply is damaged, you will need a multimeter to perform a continuity check. If you don't have a multimeter or are not familiar with using one, contact your local authorized repair center so they may continue the troubleshooting process for you. To begin with continuity testing, turn off the power, unplug the power cord, disconnect the gas supply, and wait 5 minutes for all power to bleed from the system to prevent accidental electric shock. For your safety, wear all proper PPE and do not continue with the following tests unless there is no power to the system. For the Powermax 45 XP, 65, 85, 105, and 125, remove the quick disconnect torch lead by pressing the red button and pulling the connector straight out. For torches with a torch lock switch, make sure the lock is set to the green active position. Using a multimeter set to the ohms setting, check for continuity between pins 5 and 7 on the torch lead end. There should be continuity with the consumables installed, which is approximately 0 ohms. If high resistance is measured, anything over 1 ohm or a reading of OL, the cap sensor switch circuit is open. High resistance indicates that there is a broken part in the torch or lead. To determine which part needs replacement, remove the left side of the torch handle or shell. Perform a continuity check from the blue wire to pin 5 in the torch disconnect and the orange wire to pin 7. If there is continuity on these wires, close to 0 ohms, you will need to replace the cap sensor for the system. If there is high resistance on these wires, you will need to replace the torch lead. For the Powermax 30 XP and 30 Air, A reading inside the power supply is needed. Make sure all power and gas are completely disconnected. And you have waited 5 minutes for remaining power to bleed out of the system. Remove the power supply handle and cover. Then also the component barrier. Disconnect the cap sensor connector at J12 on the heatsink side of the power board by pushing the tab on the connector toward the plug and pulling the plug out. Measure the resistance from the orange wire to the blue wire. It should measure less than 1 ohm. If it measures high resistance, the cap sensor switch circuit is open. Make sure the torch plunger moves smoothly. If it does not, replace the torch body. If the torch plunger and consumables are all working properly, then the cap sensor switch is faulty or the torch lead has a broken wire. For additional troubleshooting assistance, contact your local authorized repair center. This concludes our video on Powermax torch cap faults.